Hi everyone, welcome to the Where To podcast, where we will answer all of your Where To questions. We are here to discuss mental health and resiliency with you in order to help you live the best life possible. Let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome to our next episode of Where To with Prevention. Today I have Andy Schwend with me, and he will kind of tell you what his role is at Preferred Family Healthcare, but we're just going to talk about PFH today and what they do, how COVID affected them, and the resources that you can kind of get from them. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, thanks, Kylie. My name is Andy Schwend. I'm Chief Strategy Officer here at Preferred Family Healthcare.
Awesome. So what exactly does that mean? What does your role at Preferred Family Healthcare do?
Man, I'm not sure we have enough time to really go through all of that, but I oversee a lot of our operational development as well as trajectory when it comes to transitioning to value-based care and really designing and developing our continuum of care for the communities in which we serve.
That's awesome. How long have you worked here?
I've worked at Preferred Family for 6 years.
6 years. Dang, that's cool. Okay, so we'll start with our fun questions. What is the most useless talent that you have?
Got a lot of useless talents. I'd say the most recent one that was brought to my attention was I can touch my nose with my tongue. So apparently that's kind of rare, but you know, I didn't know it was a talent. So. Yeah. And it's very useless.
Yes, it really is. I have this thing where I actually learned this from TikTok the other day, and it's most people can't touch their palm to their shoulder, but somehow I can, and I don't know. Well, it's the same palm to the same shoulder.
Oh gosh, no, can't do that. No.
Yeah, and so it's useless. Like I don't know unless you need to scratch my shoulder or something.
Pat your own back, I guess.
Yeah, that's my useless talent. The second question, if you had to change your name, what would your new name be, and why would you choose that name?
If I could change my name, it would... That's a really hard one. You know, I told somebody recently that and when they hear this, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It would be Duke. Duke. Yeah, Duke.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll just leave it at that. So.
Okay. No explanation.
Yeah.
I should have thought about this. I don't know what mine would be. I think I want to say Rose, but also that's weird. I don't know.
I have a grandma whose name is Rose, so it's not too weird for me.
Okay. So. I just think it's a pretty name.
Yeah.
So I'd probably go with Rose.
Yeah. Well, I definitely don't deserve a pretty name, so Duke sounds about right.
Duke. That's awesome. Okay, so we'll jump into today's episode. So how was PFH directly affected by COVID-19?
So, you know, I can remember the Friday in which everything changed for us, especially regulatory, with regulatory influence on March 16th. 2020, we were really caught in an interesting situation in which we had a lot of staff that were concerned, obviously, about the pandemic, but tens of thousands of people that relied on us to also support them through the pandemic. While there's a pandemic, and going through our country, mental illness and substance abuse didn't take a break. And so our staff continued to work through that adversity and that challenge. So directly, it tested us as an organization in our ability to serve and willingness to serve. And our staff, all of them rose up to that occasion.
Yeah. So, do you guys think that you got more... I don't know if attention is the right word, but do you think more people were directed to your services because of COVID?
You know, it's in some situations that was more of a lagging effect. I think with isolation, in depression don't usually go too well together, as well as substance abuse issues. It may have not immediately caused individuals to come to us, but over time, we're seeing a increase in a more diverse patient population presenting to our offices.
Okay, that makes sense. So where did you see resiliency happen, and how did Preferred provide those resources to help individuals to become resilient in the communities?
So, I always say I'm probably the wrong person to give good information on this because I'm unfortunately so far away from the day-to-day, activity. But from my experience and what I observed with our staff and vicariously, if you will, through my oversight of our IT department and telehealth strategy was, we went from, maybe 100 providers doing telehealth services, and within 14 days, we were on track to, over the next 30, to do about 19,000 telehealth visits. And
Wow.
and resiliency, we all hate having our face in front of these computers all the time, and but when it came down to it being the only accessible way for us to reach individuals, our staff really stood up to that, and made it happen. And in all levels, administratively as well as direct service, to be able to get devices out there, internet. Our staff were really, I would say, going into the action to make sure individuals were seen and taken care of.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know the people listening to the podcast kind of know that CCP came out of COVID, crisis counseling program and prevention. So what other programs through Preferred Family Healthcare kind of came out of COVID, and are they kind of permanent in the building or in the company now, or are they more temporary?
There's in true PFH fashion, I'm not so sure we invented or started a new program or new service. I think what COVID really assisted with in the form of a catalyst was to integration and development, or expanding on things we already do. And so that could be EMDR for PTSD, for first responders and hospital staff that were really in the very beginning days of COVID, were under a lot of tension, a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So we provide a lot of support to our peers in the industry, but also, and I see that development doing more of something to continue well into the future. We've seen great benefits with that, as well as telehealth services, and even that cross state lines. And so obtaining and maintaining licensure for staff in different states to be able to meet the needs of a community that's lacking those resources locally. Because we serve a lot of rural communities, and they're not necessarily producing all of the therapists in the world. And so sometimes we need to bring those to that community. And telehealth is really, in the development through COVID, has really helped us maintain that long into the future.
Yeah.
So.
You mentioned that there's different states, different communities. What states does PFH cover?
So PFH operates in Oklahoma, Kansas, Illinois, and Missouri.
Okay. And do you know roughly how many locations there are?
Roughly around 92.
Okay. Cool. So if you're listening and you're in any of those locations, feel free to find a Preferred Family Healthcare, because they're all over the place here. So we're going to have a fun segment in the middle. It's our new trivia segment.
Oh, boy.
So we have 3 questions for Andy. And the first one is, what's your favorite or your best dad joke?
Dad joke?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Since it's trivia, can I pass?
No,
I can't pass. Okay.
It can be any kind of joke. It doesn't even need to be considered a dad joke.
No. Let's see. I don't know. I'm more of just like a passive humor person. I don't know if I know any, like, if I throw out any just jokes. Man. I'm going to have to go to the next question for now.
Okay.
So,
Who would play you in a movie if you were the movie star or the star in the movie? Who would play you?
Not that I deserve this, but when I was younger, people used to call me AC Slater. Now, I don't see it, but other people see it, and so I would be honored if AC would play me. I'm sure it's not a role he's just begging to play, but I would love that.
I could see that, actually. I could see the resemblance, too. The last one is, when would you time travel to? It can be any time in history, or it can be in the future if you wanted to. But when would it be?
Gosh, let's say, I don't know. I'd like to time travel, knowing that I could come back. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what 2050 looks like.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
In the future.
Yeah.
30 years.
Yeah, 30 years into the future.
Yeah.
Because that would help us out a lot.
Oh my goodness, yes. So,
right now, it's really hard to see what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I heard something this morning where the kids growing up now won't know what it's like to not have electric cars because all the cars will be electric in so many years. I don't know.
My kids walk up to our TV and touch it and try to scroll. So there's a lot of things I think they're not going to maybe understand. Even a CD.
So true. So true. Okay, so back into our material. How has the support system been for the employees or staff through this time? Has anything been created, or what's just been the support system for the staff?
Gosh, the best way to explain it is it's been all hands on deck. Mm-hmm. We've diligently perforated what many would see as the hierarchy of an organization, and really started to provide cross-sectional support into various domains as an organization, because everything was experiencing, whether it's accounting, HR, billing, let alone direct service, provision, was experiencing a lot of shock change, immediate change, change that, is brought to us as stated as it needed to be done yesterday.
Yeah.
So it really required us to I don't know, intrinsically identify where we needed to be as leadership and support through this time, not knowing exactly what tomorrow was going to bring.
Yeah.
And what rule might change back. And so a lot of things had to, be, a lot of rules were opened up, but we have to be prepared to then know how we did those to unwind them in the event that they are not permanent changes. Mm-hmm. And so, I'd say that, as well as changing the way having an open office works. And now it's an open calendar, if you will, to schedule pop-ins and check-ins, via, if you will. Google Meet is what we were using and still using, to be there to listen, and to be able to provide additional support and affect change in where we could to, really assist in stabilizing our service providers, because they're the ones who really need to be serving the individuals in our communities. So it was tough, but I would say our HR department did a fantastic job at really approaching wellness and mindfulness and during this time, and as well as monitoring and managing our risks as an organization with COVID.
Yeah.
So,
with all the uncertainties and challenges that face the employees, do you think that employees kind of got closer and had to work more together to get things done?
yes, and obviously I'm glad to see that as an organization. Having horizontal influence. Everyone thinks influence in an organization is vertically driven. That's risk. That's vertically driven. But influence is a horizontal piece where we can provide assistance to our peers, and what's happening in one community, in the managers and service providers there. When they know they've done something unique, we want that to spread into other areas, and I would say kind of like the grass fire effect, and I love facilitating that kind of change, and it's really helped our employees see beyond, if you will, the community in which they're serving, because our community quickly became a virtual one, in which we were occupying a single office in a Google workspace. And I appreciate that, but it comes with a lot of stress too. And so, and a lot of challenges and missteps, if you will, not knowing where we can provide our input or not. But I think it was a catalyst for some cultural development in our organization.
Yeah. So. And I would definitely agree. Just being in the prevention department alone, it's definitely, I've only been here during COVID, but seeing the teamwork that is in the department and that everyone's willing to help out in any way possible has been awesome. And even talking to other departments, like HR has answered all my questions. They've been there, and I know some of them personally now. And so it's definitely, I think COVID's definitely brought people kind of closer and more of a team effort.
Really brought some meaning to we're all in this together.
Yes, exactly. And lastly, I know Andy's kind of mentioned some services every now and then through this podcast, but what services do PFH provide to the community in every state, county, anything? So,
there's not nearly enough time for me to give you the detailed spill on this, if you will, but because what we do provide might not be what we provide in every community. But from my desk, I look at things on services along a continuum of care of the least intensive to the most intensive, and in that regard, we provide or coordinate outpatient services, being therapy, psychotherapy, psychiatry, primary care, dentistry, community support, case management, group education. Both for mental illness and substance use disorders. Obviously, prevention is a big part of our organization because we want to prevent those high cost, more disruptive levels of care in somebody's life, long-term stays, things like that. We also provide residential substance use treatment services, a residential care facility for individuals with serious mental illness, employment services, so individuals struggling in the social determinants of health domain, if you will. We provide lots of supports in education, employment, housing. So we provide housing support services as well as provide access to low-income housing tax credit projects. And we have a total of about 100 units across the northern part of Missouri for individuals transitioning maybe out of a hospital or out of a long-term care facility and on their way to independence. So I am so sure I missed something in there. But I think what you can tell is we have a real goal and a mission to provide wraparound care to individuals, and quite frankly, so that in the future they don't need us.
Yeah.
That would be the ultimate goal.
That's
So.
awesome. Yes, and if you're listening and you have a friend that needs some services, or if you heard any of these services that you would like to know more about, feel free to email prevention@moprevention@pfh.org, or we can get you in contact with Andy as well, and just send us any information or any questions that you guys have, and we will get you guys the help that you guys all deserve. So once again, thank you, Andy, for joining us today on the podcast. And
thanks for having me.
Yes. And if you guys need anything, please reach out to us. Please reach out to Andy, and we would love to help you guys with anything. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's podcast on Where To. This podcast was brought to you by Preferred Family Healthcare Prevention. For more information about PFH Prevention, please visit our Facebook page at Preferred Family Healthcare Prevention. You can also find our YouTube page at Prevention PFH, or email us at moprevention@pfh.org. See you next time.